Welcome back to the Energy Matters pod class with me and Cody Edner, my button pushing friend. We're just talking about that. And today we are going to discuss past lives, and specifically the one where me and Cody were just at each other's throats. And today we're going to resolve it
in real time.
In real time in front of you. So we're gonna discuss it from our point of view as teachers, intuitive readers, and healers, what we've seen in our own experience and lives. Happy to take questions from those of you who are here live. Cody will read your past lives for you, and then Cody's going to do a meditation for us at the end, and maybe explore a past life of your own. So, Cody, maybe we can start by you telling us the juiciest past life you've ever had and what you did wrong. Here, let me do it for you.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. How about I tell you yours and you tell me mine? That's two psychics talking to each other.
That's right. I was joking earlier, Cody. We were making fun of each other as we do. And I said, you look like a psychic who can only read the past.
That was a good one.
That's a good one. You know, I'll start with a story. I was working with a young man once, many, many years ago, and I was doing a reading, which is something that we would do back in the day. And I said, I never met him, didn't know who he was. And I said, it's funny, but you have a very clear past life that I could see. The image is being a city planner, like you really enjoyed planning cities. Where did the roads go, the buildings, everything. And I said, and then I said, well, it looks like I'm sharing that with you for some reason to just validate your current career path. And his response was, holy shit, dude, I am a city planner. That is my current role. I work for the city as a city planner. And so the point, I suppose, of that life coming up into consciousness was to validate where he was on his path and on his journey. So maybe that begs the question of, well, does everyone have past lives? And what is the point of, if we do, what is the point of knowing about them? And then you can get to your juiciest past life, Cody.
Yeah, that certainly would be an interesting path. You've been a city planner since Rome and all these. That's just, you got stuck trying to plan the perfect city.
Could you have done a better job on LA, please?
Yeah, they didn't have big freeways back in Rome. Interesting. Yeah, we once when I was running a psychic center, a training center. One day we were doing a reading. We do readings, throughout the day, and this gentleman walked in, and to see him, he looked like he was just not from this time, and he was very much in this persona of kind of like a mountain man or something. Like he just did not fit, and he kind of dressed a little bit like that, and it really jumped out. Like, most people, you kind of see them for who they are in the moment. But this guy was like, wow. And we read him, and sure enough, he was really reliving a past life. And part of what came out of it was because he was reliving that past life, he wasn't really creating for himself in present time. He was trying to recreate something that didn't fully exist in this time frame. And by the end, when we looked at him, he looked totally like a different person. Even though, he still was dressed the same way. But it was shocking to see how much someone could be fully in a past life, like reliving it. And as we read it, he validated many of the things we were saying. He's like, yeah, that's how I feel about things. That's how I see things. But as he got out of that past life and more into what we would say present time, suddenly all this clarity and creativity came back. In terms of what he's really here for. So that was interesting to see someone that stuck in a past life.
I
think can't get stuck in them or on them. Yeah.
I think Renaissance fairs are a bunch of people reliving.
Yeah, and that can be fun. So it can be fun to relive past lives. It was interesting. I was just in Japan, and there is this thing in Japan that I noticed where you can dress in kind of the old uh, I don't know what you would call it, outfit of like the woman could dress in this very old style outfit, and they actually rent them. So it's at these different tourist sites, you will see people from all around the world fully dressed up and made up in what would be like an old Japanese style of dress. And that's what I was seeing is so many of them were like reliving these past lives and fully kind of immersed in the energy of it. And it was fascinating. It looked really fun.
Mm.
But it was very interesting to see how you can step into a past life like that to re-experience some of the energy of it and reconnect with that information that you have. And a Renaissance fair is a great place to play with that.
It is. When I was young, I always very much resonated with the Roman time period. And I had an uncle, he wasn't a blood relative, but he took me to Rome, to Italy, and we went to the south, to Naples, and he took me to all, he was an Italian scholar, actually, a bit of a historian, and he had all these artifacts. Actually, behind me, I have a real ring from 50 AD from Rome that he gave me.
Wow.
And if you've ever seen the movie Gladiator, in the beginning of the movie, Russell Crowe is where it's almost the exact one, and he's brushing his hand through the wheat fields, or whatever they are. And I have a ring that's just like that. I should have pulled it off the thing to show everyone. Anyway, so this uncle takes me to Italy, to Rome, and to the south. And when my parents are like walking far ahead, I was 17. He goes, "I got to tell you something. When I was 5, so this was in the 1950s. He said he passed away many years ago. He he got polio, and he was in the hospital, and he broke out into a deep fever, and the doctors said that he started speaking perfect Latin, and that they were the doctors the only ones that knew some Latin. And they're like, how does this 5-year-old, 6-year-old know Latin? And he told me his whole life he had had memories of living in of living in Rome and having these Roman past lives. And he's like, and you were totally there with me. And so we're on this journey through Italy, and he would take me to these museums and tell me, he's like, he even told me the year that he thought that I died. So anyway, short of the long story version here is he took me to a museum with a huge coin room, thousands of coins across 1,000 years. And he's like, I want you to just walk around the room and just find a coin that really resonates with you. And so I did. Took 10, 15 minutes, finally found a coin. I was like, this one. And we looked at the number, we looked up the catalog. It looked it up in the catalog, and it was the exact year that he told me that he had a memory of me dying. The exact,
Wow.
I remember just getting chills up and down my body, and that was my first real, opening into the possibility of past lives. And so I've always had a deep connection to Rome. And and this could be the next topic here, but uh, I don't know if everyone has past lives on Earth. Sometimes someone looks like this is their first rodeo. Other people, maybe they've been around a long, long time, making great progress or spinning around the drain. I think it could be all of the above. I don't understand the mystery of existence, but just as intuitive readers, when we sit with someone and look at them, often these things come up. And so we just look at, say hello to, and read what we see, and what comes up. And I think in most traditions across history, most traditions, there's some form of your spirit changes forms. Only in
Mhm.
modern Western religion, even in Judaism, in sects of Judaism, I have Orthodox relatives, close relatives, who say even parts of their belief system is in past lives. So most traditions see the spirit changing forms. Um, And so I just say all that to say, yeah, maybe some of us are really drawn to a moment and period in time in history. Others of us, we feel like we got here like, what? I can't stand this place. Get me off this planet. It's our first rodeo, or we're early on and it's painful.
Right. That's a fascinating story, by the way. That's a very awesome. It is interesting how those kinds of little or even that's like a big event kind of move us into this world. Like most of us that are here exploring energy, it's because we had some experience that connected us to that, opened us up to it, and maybe is somewhat mysterious in many ways.
Yeah,
And you're right, it is a mystery. I mean, as readers, we don't have a solidified idea that, well, everybody's had past lives in this way and this many, and they're here, or they mean this or that. We're always looking to see, well, what do we see? And very often we're seeing new and novel things because spirit and the universe is ultimately creative in so many different ways that different paths play out in different ways. And it's fascinating to look at that kind of stuff. My
yeah,
attraction was Egypt, and so I was always drawn to Egyptian and Egypt energy, and I did have the fortune to travel through Egypt. This was back in the 80s with a group of energy workers. There was like 80 of us, and at one point we were visiting a site and it's like six slowly trickling off. Six or seven of us went into this different room while some a guide was talking to the rest of the group. And as I stepped into the room, I was suddenly propelled back into this past life, knowing that I had been there before, had lived a life as a monk, and these other people in the room had been with me. And we went into like total silence. Like there was this energy that this was we didn't speak. And that this was where we would eat, and that it was totally silent. And there was a table there, and many of us like ended up kind of sitting down at the table across from each other, together, and no one spoke. We were in this energy, and then a few minutes went by where we were all just in the experience, and then the rest of the group started to come in. So later we talked, and we all described the same information, the same awareness that we knew we were in this past life together, and that this was when we had been there, and this is what our experience was and what our life was. So it was great to be able to compare notes with six or seven other energy workers, and it all matched up. Like we were all walked into this past life. It was
that's cool.
fascinating to have that
That's cool.
experience. Yeah.
The part of going on retreats with groups to places like, me and you are taking a group to India in September. It is maybe you have one of those experiences, or you work out some energy you've been stuck on and nothing seems to get it to come to the surface and kick it up the way going back to a place might, and sitting
Yeah.
in that place with a new level of awareness. So that is part of the journey. Somebody said, could they be parallel lives? I think I'm open to all of it. It could be other dimensions, parallel lives. We have no idea what the nature of time is. I think past lives is, yeah, a very linear way of thinking of it, and
Right.
way we can reasonably understand it cognitively. But I'm totally open to any and all possibilities. I just say what I see. And
Right.
so,
It gets wild when you really start to see because I have seen spirits where it's like to read them and their life where they are, and it's almost like it looks like you're running two bodies, like you're having two different life experiences at one time.
mm,
I can't verify that, but it's just what I've seen occasionally, which is a very unique and different thing. So moving forward, if we think of time in a linear sense, that would be like they were having parallel lives at the same time. And
yeah,
looking back, it's like, oh, you had these lifetimes overlapped or they were at the same time.
it would be funny if you had two parallel lives and you were both doing nothing. There's two lazy
Playing
lifetimes.
video games.
You kind of peer over somebody else eating potato chips. Oh, that was a weird feeling. That would be great. There is a story I love from a teacher I know who said he was literally just walking across his living room, and he had this flash of it was like peering through a hole in a fence and looking into all of these past lives simultaneously, where in every one he died in a different way that left him in pain and confusion. So drowning, choking, being killed, uh, and it felt like in an instant he went through all of these lifetimes where there was something unfinished, there was pain that was unresolved, and it had left confusion, like a cloud of confusion on him. And he said by the time he walked to the other side of the living room, it's like he had worked through a bunch of that pain and confusion. This is a very enlightened soul, so I don't know if we all work through stuff that fast, walking across
Yeah.
walking across the living room. But the idea of that, and we do this work all the time, but that sometimes a past life it shows up for a reason in the same way a memory shows up. Maybe there's something unresolved that keeps replaying that wants attention and healing. And so, just like we could have trauma in this life in our past that we need to resolve, maybe there's, generational trauma, right? Or there could be trauma that you've taken on and brought into this lifetime that needs resolution. And I've always found that very real doing my own work and working with other people. When I was a little kid, I remember having flashes of like death in another life. I mean, like 3 years old,
Yeah.
and just having those flashes and having no idea what that was or what to do with it.
That could be scary as a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that speaks really directly to why we read Lifetimes. It's not just because it's a fascinating story and it's fun. I mean, there's that part of it. You see interesting, wild things, but it's more about kind of why is someone looking to that lifetime right now? What are they trying to get out of it? Whether it's resolving something, getting their energy back, or getting some kind of an insight or an answer relative to a current situation they're in their life. And sometimes past lives work in that way, like we might think back to where we went through something similar in this lifetime and get some information about how to relate to the present. We do that at a energy soul level where we might kind of be reflecting on the lesson or information from a past life and seeing how it applies to what we're working on right now.
Do you think you need to do enough work on yourself in this lifetime and this past to have enough room to work on things from the past lives? Are you like, hey, there's so much in this lifetime, I don't even have room time to think about everything that happened in the
Yeah,
past? Or does it come through
it
the things
I
that are
think it
happening
comes
now?
through. Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. So as we're working through this lifetime and creating whatever we're working on and learning our lessons, I think we oftentimes run into people and situations where there's something unresolved. So it kind of comes to us in many ways that we are in a process of growth. Part of that process is resolving past places where our energy got stuck or we got stuck and didn't complete kind of integrating the lesson. And so whether that shows up in your life as a person or a place or a situation, there can be this reflection from a past life. I don't think we have to go chasing and digging after them per se in meditation or anything like that. I think
Mm,
stuff tends to come to us if we're in the moment and just really open and aware of what energy's kind of coming up in the moment. It
yeah.
is fun to go travel the world and do kind of like that trip through Egypt I did was like a past life pilgrimage, we might call it. It was a journey to kind of light up and stimulate past lives and work on the energy. And I had multiple occasions where I went to a place and fully went into remembering a past life relative to that place.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experiences like that as well. Um, from my experience doing a lot of sessions and looking at this many times over. Well, first, let me just describe when we do our intuitive training, we teach people how to do readings on this stuff. We see it in a very specific way. We use a symbol of a rose and look at a stem, and the lifetimes show up that way on the stem. And I've seen for sure people who have not been around a long time, and that's a cause of some confusion and turbulence in their life. Maybe there's a lot of people, they come to Earth and they're here and they're just experiencing suffering and pain and not much else. And it's like this is their first few rodeos getting used to this kind of mortality, this kind of place. And then I've seen people who've like had a bunch of lives and then took a break, and they're like, I'm going off somewhere else for a while. I'll come back when I'm ready. And everything in between. I've seen some trippy stuff. I remember working with a woman and looking at this specific thing and then going, besides a past life, I see this. I see like little things on your stem, like little sunflowers, little beautiful sunflowers. Looks like a young female child you have karma with. And then at the end, she didn't say a word. And at the end of the session, we were upstairs in this building. This little girl comes up the steps and goes, "Mommy, are you done?" Or whatever she said. And she was wearing a dress full of sunflowers. It was just a sunflower dress. And the validation for her was, okay, I could see that you have this daughter, but also that there was a karma there to bring that person into this life with you. And I thought that was very validating for her at the moment, to see that there was a deeper meaning between her and her daughter. Uh, so we'll see all sorts of stuff. We'll find meaning, we'll find pain, we'll find validation. Sometimes somebody needs nothing other than validation. I've done readings where maybe I said to someone, looks like you have all these lifetimes being a musician. And they're like, I am a musician. I'm like, well, that's why it's such a homey place for you. Why you feel so good going there again, and why the road is easy. Sometimes the road is easy in certain directions when we've done something, or someone's having a really hard relationship experience and they've had a tough go many times with this person, and they keep coming around again and again, having the same arguments, like, oh, you're doing this rodeo again. So for me, when I'm doing this work with someone, the point is not just to read a past life because that's cool, but like, well, how is it affecting you? What is the purpose of it coming up to the surface, and is it going to help us move forward, resolve, heal, grow, or validate in some way? And that's the usefulness that I've always found in
Yeah.
doing that kind of work.
Yeah, definitely. And karma, we've mentioned that word a few times, and it kind of goes hand in hand with this notion of past lives. I mean, there's certainly the notion where we're maybe admiring ourselves in karma this lifetime, but most of it reflects on a past life, an unresolved issue, and we meet up with people or come into a situation where oftentimes we're working out karma, and karma kind of gets we, like most things, we get stuck on the negative side, but karma can be a very positive thing. Like you're meeting with someone that's there to help you in your growth, or maybe they were a teacher in a last life, or maybe you were a teacher in a past life to them. And so the relationship doesn't that's karmic doesn't always have to be contentious. It can be supportive and positive. So we have karma along a scale with people, and karma being perhaps reflected in agreement to experience a lifetime together, or for our paths to cross over time. And in that karmic agreement, it could be one that is very positive and brings us new insight and kind of leads us to a next step. And it could be one where there's something unresolved and we need to kind of work that out with the person. But karma is not all negative. That's just what everybody gets stuck on
They get stuck on
oftentimes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I was probably your guru in a past life, right? I mean, I was your,
Yeah, and
sensei.
you led me astray and you're having to make up for it, I think. Or maybe that was me and I'm making it up for you. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Uh, eh,
Maybe you're leading me astray this lifetime. And so, next lifetime we've got to.
I'm here to bring you into a happy place, Cody.
That's right. That's right. You are embracing that whole dad hat thing that's been going around.
My hat should say cat daddy. Um,
The cat daddy.
uh, there is something very mysterious. There was this movie called Cloud Atlas with Tom Hanks. I don't know if you remember that, where it moves you from past life to past life. You can't tell what's future, what's present, what's past, and all the karma. And everyone plays a different role in every lifetime. So in some, he's the villain, some he's the hero, some he's the lover, some he's a family member. And there is this idea of traveling almost like with a soul family or people you have a lot of karma with. And then maybe one lifetime you're the villain and they're the hero, and vice versa. You become the victim and you become the perpetrator. And we go around and around. And I know some people really hate that idea because they're like, no, I'm the victim. I was not the perpetrator. It's a really hard thing to accept. But, in India, this is very much part of the belief and culture that, like, yeah, maybe in this lifetime you're the victim, but you were the perpetrator. And so instead of focusing on so much on who's doing it, who's bad, who did it to me, the focus should then shift on what am I here to grow through and understand so I don't repeat this over and over. And so it's a bit of a different paradigm. So in the Western paradigm now, in the religious sense, it's you die and then you go to heaven forever or you go to hell forever. So watch out. In the Eastern paradigm, it's no, you're going to do this forever until you get it. So this could be heaven or hell right here until you get it. And in the traditions
Right.
of the East, your enlightenment is waking up out of the cycle of what we might in Sanskrit call samsara, the cycle, endless cycles of birth and death. And the goal is to break free of that so you don't endlessly create, repeat karma and just stay here trying to learn these lessons. So you want to eventually graduate from the Earth School. And I don't know where you go. Maybe you become a cloud. I don't know what's above, what's beyond being a
Other
human.
planes of existence. Yeah, I mean, it's a vast, vast space when you start to look at that. And
Planet.
it
Maybe you
and it
become a
is a mystery. I mean, it's fine that it can remain a mystery. Yeah, in my experience and in kind of the training that we both came up through and teach, there really is more of a neutral picture about past lives where you have been in all the different roles. Like if you're to a place of really spiritually awakening and maybe moving toward getting off that cycle, getting off that wheel of life, then you have to have experienced all the roles, and that is being the victim and the perpetrator, being the slave and the slave owner, being all of the things in order to gain enough experience and awareness of the game to transcend the game. Otherwise, you don't know what you're transcending. So there is this more neutral picture about any given role. So we have, both in what you might think of as positive and negative experiences in our past lives to grow through them.
uh, and if we become immortal, it might, if we could just extend our bodies, biology indefinitely, it might actually end up being the same game in a way. We don't change bodies.
Right. Yeah. If we become immortal through AI, then we're just stuck in a machine, something.
that's that's right. So where maybe I could ask the question this way: where are the past life memories? Are they up in the Akashic records and then we download the ones we need? Is there some kind of memory bank collectively? Like where is that
Where
memory?
are they? That's always a great question in terms of, when we're talking about the energy universe, because that supposes there's a physical place where they exist, right? Like, where is it? Where are all the records? Can I break in and change them? Can I, can I edit my records? So yes, there's a very well-known notion of the Akashic records as a store place of all the information. Both you have your own Akashic records of your journey as a soul, and then there's the notion of the Akasha, where all experience of Earth is and all the information is recorded. And we access that space. We look at that space as clairvoyants. We work on it in our training. I think there's also a sense that we have a soul memory. There's aspects of ourselves we aren't perhaps conscious of all of it. I think it would be overwhelming. Might not be helpful to remember all your past lives. How do you go through a day and sort through all those memories? But there is a soul memory that we have that we can access that perhaps isn't in the Akasha, but just in ourselves, just like we have a personality memory from this lifetime that we can access at a deeper soul level. All we have all that information and experience within us. Um, Whether we can access that consciously, uh, certainly through meditation, I've found myself connecting with that and seeing and knowing things that didn't happen this lifetime.
Sometimes through dreams as well.
Yeah.
I've had
Dreams
it
is
happen.
another one.
Yeah, I've definitely
Yeah. And
experienced
apparently high fevers
anywhere where
from a
you're,
doorway.
yeah, anywhere where your normal consciousness is shifted.
Yeah. Anywhere where you move into that liminal space between and it's a little dreamlike, you can start to access this kind of information, it seems like. Yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have small piece of advice because I've seen this happen where I wouldn't obsess over a past life or karma or try to recreate it. I think when an insight comes through and it's useful, you use it, integrate it. But it's just like obsessing about your current past. You don't want to live in the past, whether it's this
Right.
past or a past life.
Yeah.
I was telling Cody, I was telling you, I used to go to to these retreats with one teacher, and there was a student. She would dress up like an Egyptian, like a Cleopatra kind of character every retreat, and she was obsessed with Egypt and just obsessed with that past life. And it's like, okay, that's cool. You have this Egyptian thing that you like and you resonate with, but who are you in this lifetime, right? Who are you now? Are you Egypt or are you someone now? So I
Right.
have seen that also play out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I've met people and I knew this guy who got stuck on a past life and started to obsess over it and then like traveled to the place where it was, spent years trying to discover information that would validate the awareness that he was that person or in that place. And to me, that seems like kind of a waste of time and energy. I think he might have written a book about it, so he got something out of it. But that that obsessing over the past as if there's something more there than what you would just glean as an insight through meditation uh, is misdirected energy. It's not moving you forward and creating your path. It's just trying to uncover a memory in a sense. And I don't think we need to do that. I think we can get all our answers right here in the moment if we awaken in the moment. And all those answers that we need will come to us. And the stuff that doesn't come to us as an insight that's there, either it's not needed in the moment or it really isn't going to move us forward.
Cody,
and we
maybe
don't
we should have,
need to dig.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we should have everyone that comes to India with us come dressed up as their favorite past life.
Yeah. 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 My mind went in multiple directions with that. I don't know. Maybe we could just have an evening of our favorite past life.
Okay, that'd be good. We could also wait till Halloween. I'm more into future lives personally. I'm a Trekkie. Last Halloween, last two, I dressed up as a Star Trek captain. So
Ah,
uh, I'm very much into future lifetimes as well. What do you think about accessing a future lifetime or a future enlightened version of you or you in another dimension and then tapping that information? Have you ever explored or
yeah.
something like that?
Yes, I have actually. I've heard, that it's funny you mentioned that because we do talk in this linear sense and we talk about past lives, and most people go, well, do you believe in past lives? Um, but from the psychic standpoint, yeah, when I've looked at people, you can see that timeline forward in future lives. There is a place outside of time where maybe everything is, there's this notion of simultaneous time, a place where everything's happening all at once. And it kind of comes from physics, but there's a spiritual component to that as well. And I have looked at those. I find it difficult sometimes to get information out of it and make it pertinent to present. Also difficult to kind of understand the context to gain information out of it that can easily be articulated to someone.
Yeah, it's hard
Um,
for our brains to to
yeah,
process something
to
we've
make
never
sense of
seen.
it.
Almost like someone in the 1800s 1700s seeing airplanes and or
And iPhones and it's like
AI. We're
AI.
Yeah, we can't cognitively, it's like an ontological shock. Because I have seen things of like futures where our bodies become our spaceships and our consciousness transcends the material world, and so we can travel at the speed of thought, or things like that that are so unfathomable at the moment they seem absurd. uh
Yeah. Likewise, I've
or,
seen things
oh,
where I know I'm seeing it, but I can't really grasp it and articulate it fully. I mean, there's just bits, fragments of things.
hmm.
Yeah.
So
So, so do you believe in future lives? That's a good question.
yeah, well, there's a new scientific paper out recently. I follow some cool science channels, and on the possibility that time has three dimensions, the way space has, it's three dimensions: height,
Hmm.
length, width. And it's but we can't,
Interesting.
it's hard to perceive that with our brains because we like what, uh, and maybe there are more than that, and so we're just not cognitively capable of understanding the true reality, the true perspective of reality. Maybe there's just too many dimensions and we live in this physical one, and it's really hard to contemplate what's going on, and at some point you might have to surrender to the mystery. But what I love about the work that we do in seeing energy is you could sit back and just in your meditation look at anything and see what you see, and then that's your insight and information. And I remember when I was in Hawaii, at the school in Hawaii, we were doing some reading stuff, and I said, well, I want to look at a past life of planet Earth, whatever that means. I don't even know it. I just want to look at, does planet Earth as a being, is it a being? Does it have past lives? And I'll never forget, I had just this very clear, almost journey and image of going to the Big Bang and then beyond it. And then all of a sudden, my physical body couldn't handle it. And I ended up heaving on the floor, crying, and I thought I was going to explode. And it was like I touched something so big, profound, and deep that my brain, my body couldn't handle. And I was sitting next to someone who was a few years ahead of me, and they're just looking at me on the floor, Cody, just weeping. It was like, ah. And I did not understand what happened. And looking back, I had touched something bigger than I was able to integrate, and I
Yeah.
was very sensitive, and it just almost blew me out. It
Fried
almost
your
blew
own
my
circuits.
circuit. Yeah, it's like taking too much ayahuasca, or just, you know.
Yeah. Oh, funny. Funny. Yeah,
Well,
I mean, one of the things, as a reader, we're opening up into the place to really look and see. It's, we don't necessarily understand everything we're seeing in any given moment. When we're reading somebody, we focus in a way where we can articulate something back or reflect something back to them that's happening for them. But if we step back and just really look at maybe the broader sense of that individual or the broader sense of the universe, there's many things I'll see that I don't yet understand. But I think that's part of the fun is exploring the mystery and getting insights. And that's part of the growth is expanding beyond what I can already conceptualize or think
yeah,
or even see. So
I
we're growing as we do this work. And some of that growing is into ways of seeing things or concepts that we never would have thought of otherwise. And you just kind of broke my brain with the time having multiple dimensions. But it makes sense. Time space
yeah.
is interlocked. So there's
There's
dimensions of space, there's dimensions of time.
there's studies
Yeah.
that showing maybe that time flows forward and backwards. Um,
Yes.
yeah, it's so we are all, I guess, in some ways psychic explorers. And I love that. As I say that, it just started pouring, raining in the house. I want to leave just a couple minutes if there's any questions for our folks who are here live. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Speak now or hold your question till next lifetime. And then and then after, Cody's going to guide us in a little meditation to maybe explore some of this together for a moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've had tons of comments as we've been going, really beautiful shares. We don't have time to read them all. Um, but, and by the way, if you are listening or watching on like Apple or Spotify or YouTube or something, the meditation is free, and it's just for everyone on our email list and in our little Energy Matters community. Our
Good.
community
I thought you were going to say leave a
is
review and click subscribe and like. You went a different direction.
if you if you leave a review, Cody will do a healing on a past life of yours. How about
Uh,
that? Um, I think there were some more. Let's see. I don't feel or see energy the way you guys do. How do I become more sensitive to energy? I mean, it really is like anything in life. It's practice, many hours of practice. And I didn't either when I started down this path. I literally kind of fell into it, and then I put in a ton of hard work. So, and I've always said that the best students are not the ones that are the most sensitive or psychic or have the most experience with being sensitive to energy. I've actually found it to be like the normal average kind of like, I don't even not sure what energy is, but I'm willing to try. Those folks tend to do really well if they put in the effort. So one is learning tools. So like when we do our year-long intuitive trainings, you learn how to ground and how to run energy, how to move energy, how to heal, how to have boundaries, how to clean out the center of your head, how to see. Right now we're doing a monthly class on seeing energy. You guys can come any month you want to. We do it once a month for 90 minutes on seeing energy. So I don't know any shortcut other than putting in the work through meditation and practice. And then when you get to it, you start doing readings on other people, and that really kind of turbocharges your abilities because you have to get out of your own way and you have to see. You can't just meander around in your own head the way many of us do when we meditate. So at a certain point in intuitive training, you just have to learn to sit across from somebody else and look at their energy. It gets you out of your own way and it strengthens that muscle. And ultimately, most people they feel, and in intuitive training, feeling's great, but we learn how to see, and that is the bridge that most people when they train have to cross, seeing instead of just feeling. And then those abilities work well together. So that is the short answer. Actually the very short
Short,
answer.
long answer.
The short,
Yeah.
long answer.
I found that same thing, over the years, people say, well, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not psychic, or I don't, they don't see themselves as having these abilities. And for me, it's always been that the person who has the interest, who has a strong interest and enthusiasm, that's what's needed. It's not whether you have a sense of a talent in it or that you're already sensitive, because that's not going to get you anywhere. What gets you somewhere is having the interest that brings you back to it, and some enthusiasm about the pursuit, because it is a lot of hard work ultimately.
Yeah.
So,
And, but very much worth the journey.
yeah.
The next, so next time we're going to teach that intuitive training is, I think, next March. So March 2026. We'll announce a date soon. So for those of you who want to take that journey with us, that'll be the next time we do it, I think, probably. Unless
Yeah, we usually start in the spring. Good time to start to grow.
unless me and Cody retire. So
Oh
all
yeah,
right.
between now and I don't know how that would happen, but
I mean,
you can always hope.
you're a solid decade past retirement age as it is, right? So
Oh yeah, yeah. If we weren't live, I might use some expletives right now to
our
come back
next
at you.
and we got to get to this meditation soon, but our next question is, do you think people who don't want to have children or and don't have children possibly are in their last lifetime here? No, I don't think there's any correlation to that. Is it possible that someone who, I mean, the Buddha had a child. So if you think he's someone that didn't have any more human lives. And by the way, some people, if they find enlightenment, maybe they keep coming back. I'm not even sure that that means you're at lifetime's end. Maybe you come back as a teacher, as a guide of in some form. So I'm going to leave that very open ended. That is
Yeah.
something you look at for yourself in
No,
meditation.
very true. I mean, the transcending something or getting free of any given game puts you in a place of choice and no real charge on it. So you could come back in a way where you're not getting stuck in it. You're enjoying the freedom. So getting enlightened or transcending to me is a step in total freedom to do
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. And if you are enlightened and have kids, maybe that's even better for the planet. And yeah. And if you
True,
have kids,
true.
if you have kids, your face might look like you've had many lifetimes in one.
That's
uh,
bad. That's bad.
so thank you all for the great questions and insights. I want to make sure we have time for our meditation with Cody on past lives here. So I'm going to hand the mic over to you, and let's do a meditation before we finish here. And if you're just listening on the podcast, thanks for being with us as always, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
great. All
you.
right, everybody. Let's take a nice deep breath. We're going to transition into a little meditation here. And meditating perhaps in this way is two different things. One is it's turning our attention inward, and the other is it's a movement into a little bit different space of awareness, perhaps we could call it, or a little different focal point into connecting with energy. So we use this word energy a lot. And, what is energy? Well, in one way, everything is energy. And in another way, this place we're looking to connect with is a place where everything vibrates and it reflects. Maybe we see it as color, but it's certainly a vibration that we could sense in a lot of different ways. And that world we would call the world of energy. And it's the world of spirit, perhaps we could say, um, expressing itself or just being. And as we come into a lifetime, we're coming into a place where we can manifest our energy, make real our energy in a game, in a place, a world, an experience. And so that's an incarnation, is the spirit coming into reality and creating. And we've had many experiences like that. And they can feel very distant. I mean, often there's this question, well, why don't we remember our past lives? They can feel like there's a separation. But as we move into meditation and energy awareness, perhaps we can let ourselves open up to see or experience one of our past lives.